just did jiu-jitsu and it smashed my face. And,
Yeah,
yeah.
I can't see it. So,
Yeah.
so you're doing good.
Yeah. Well, cool. Well, hey, I've got, is it Olve?
Olve.
Yeah, Olve.
Yeah.
Yeah. I try my best, to get the pronunciations right,
No,
but
but
not
it's a
always.
hard one for like even Norwegian speaking
Mm-hmm.
people are struggling with it. So
Yeah. Because Ole is a quite common name, but
yes,
I think it's the first time I've heard Olve.
yeah, I was told by a friend the other day it's like 500 of us in Norway or something.
Oh, really?
So I don't know if that's
Yeah.
100% true or
Yeah,
when the
yeah.
statistic was made, but
Yeah.
yeah, so it's not too often.
Mm.
But I
Is
know,
there,
but I know 4 of them or something. So
you know, four Olve?
Yeah.
So you know almost all of them in
Yeah. half of them.
Yeah. Is there a history or is there a meaning to the name?
So it's a Old Norse name, and it's like holydom or like an pagan priest. I think is like the
Wow.
synonyms for the name, kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
From the ones you know that have the same name, or any of them priests?
None of them are priests. No.
Yeah.
So I went to school with one, and the little brother of a friend of mine,
Yeah.
and then my chiropractor for a really long time
Oh,
was named
wow.
Olve. So that's
How random.
yeah.
Yeah. Nice. And are you born and raised here in Stavanger?
No, I'm from Stord, so it's an island 2.5 hour north from here, in between Bergen and Stavanger.
Oh, okay, nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. And you said you have how many siblings?
I have 2 siblings.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
They're all in the area, or they're kind of dispersed?
No, I have one is living back at Stord,
Mhm.
and my brother is a student in Trondheim at the moment.
Yeah. Oh, I love Trondheim.
Yeah, me too.
Super quaint city.
Yeah.
I
would never like to live there. I think it's too dark.
Yeah, it's a
during
little far
winter
north.
times.
Yeah.
But otherwise, I think it's a great city. It's
Yeah.
really nice to visit,
Mhm.
and it's really nice for people who like food.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I mean, obviously you're a pretty renowned chef, you're building your reputation, and based on my minimal research, and I found out just how incredible you're doing in your career. So congratulations on all your success and
Thank you.
everything. In terms of like Norway, like the food scene, what are your thoughts on like the food scene here in Norway in general? And then also, like, are there certain cities that you prefer? I mean, obviously Oslo is probably the biggest city,
Yeah.
and they've got a lot of restaurants and stuff like that. So, but besides Oslo, I mean, are there certain like secret pockets of areas in Norway that you think, wow, like it's an up and coming area for food?
Yeah, top 3 in Norway is for sure Stavanger, Oslo, and Trondheim.
Yeah.
Oslo is always like
Mm.
one step ahead, since they are like a bigger city.
Yeah.
But it's so many great talented chefs in other cities as well, and they are up and coming. It's like, you used to live in Bergen, and I think like the chefs in Bergen are great. I just think it's harder to reach out to the people because they are less open-minded as guests. But it's coming along, and there is a lot of great projects going on in Bergen. So I think like I think that's the 4 biggest cities in Norway, kind of. Yeah. They are like doing good.
Yes. So Oslo is the biggest. Obviously, they have the largest food scene. I went to like a food festival there one time.
Yeah.
Oh my God, incredible food.
Yeah.
I was blown away.
Yeah. When I travel, I mainly travel for food.
Yeah.
And, I don't
I
mind
can
going
imagine.
to Oslo, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And I have like staples I'm always stopping by. It's a little bit because I know the people running it, but it's like, I think it's nice.
Yeah. Now I'm very curious because I'm a fucking monkey when it comes to being a chef or anything.
Yeah.
I do like to cook. Just recently, I've been kind of tapping into my inner Korean. I made homemade kimchi.
Yeah, nice.
And I don't know, have you heard of jjajangmyeon? It's a black bean paste noodle.
No.
It's like it has Chinese roots, but it's really popular in Korea.
Yeah.
I'll have to make it for you.
Yes.
And then but that's a lot of pressure to cook for a chef. And then I made I don't know if you heard of doenjang jjigae. It's a fermented bean paste soup.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. No. In Korean cuisine, there's a lot of fermentation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love this.
Yeah. And so back in the days, because it smells and kimchi is very spicy, all my friends are like, what the fuck are you eating? I feel so foreign.
Yeah.
But now it seems like everything is caught up. There's a lot of like kimchi, fermentation, Korean food kind of in the spotlight.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of like proud, and I've never, I mean, I hate to say this, but my mom has always done the cooking, because we ate Korean food every day.
Yeah.
But being a grown up now and being so removed from the accessibility of Korean food, I'm trying to cook it.
Yeah.
and I was really surprised at how tasty it was.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, do you draw inspiration for? Because I would imagine like there's again, correct me if I'm wrong, but is there an aspect of what you do that's also art, right?
Yeah. Some of it, it depends on how much you put into it, but it's like you always think on how it's gonna look on the plate when you're done, kind of. So you look into these things, and it's like an art form to do certain styles of cooking, I would say. Like you can't say sushi. I do not do sushi though, but it's like you can't not say sushi is not an art form in any way or form. Like it's just like, yeah, it's so amazing to look at and see and eat. So I think aspects of cooking is like is an art form, yeah. But yeah, it goes a lot into it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like the whole thing of color combinations and things like this. And yeah, no.
So, like being a chef, do you like kind of walk me through the process? Because I'm very curious. When I go to a restaurant, obviously there's a menu. You know, it's a limited amount of things, and I choose. They bring it out. I have a good time. From a chef's perspective, you're kind of. Do you have to draw inspiration from somewhere, or do you say like, is seasonality obviously important in what you do? Is local farming, the sourcing of the materials. Kind of walk me through like how you put it all together.
Yeah, for us, like the concept of Seid, where I'm the head chef now, we try to focus on local produce and like try to like harvest from what's around us and try to like always choose from this area, and then we try to then choose from Norway if we can't get it in this area. And of course, there is some things that you don't get in Norway at all, so you have to import. But we tried as hard we can to focus locally. So like you try to look at the vegetables and things around you and see how you can use it. And yeah, so for me, this is important thing. And we go through like talking to farmers and stuff like this. So like the whole process of it is like we find some produce we like, and then we try to make the most out of this. And yeah, try to have zero waste on it. But in the end, like how I like to cook is like the most important thing is that we have fun in the kitchen. For me, it's like I show up there every day. Some periods of time, it's only long days. And if you don't have fun, then I think it's a miserable job. Yeah. Yeah. It often starts with an idea of something, and then you look at what you have around, and it's like an inspiration for something you ate, something you saw, something that just popped in your mind. Most likely you got it from somewhere, but it's like, and then it's like how to use it. And also for me, it's important to have my whole team be a part of it. So I try to sit down. I might invite them from dinner, and then we grab a beer and we just talk loosely about food and see where that gets us. Because I think sitting down, like putting a pressure on it, it's gonna not kill the creativity, but it's gonna limit it because everyone is gonna stress a little bit more about it.
A little bit more free form.
Yeah. And then it's like, I would really love to use Brussels sprouts. And then we're like, okay, can we get local or Norwegian Brussels sprouts right now? And then we build from there, and then we turn into something great most of the times, luckily.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So it sounds like a brainstorming session.
Yeah.
You know, you may start with like an ingredient and then kind of branch out from there.
Yeah, and then we just go from there and see like right now, for example, we had just a guest chef from Iceland in a restaurant in considering, or like with the food and fun concept or food festival in Stavanger. And he was cooking a lot of like North African, Lebanon kind of vibe.
Oh, okay.
And it's a way I've never been cooking before. And like, so it's like, for me now, it's how I'm starting thinking now is like how he was using the produce and how he worked on it, and like the spices he was using and stuff that is completely new for me. So right now my mindset is like drawn to a part of the world I normally don't cook.
Oh, wow.
Which is fun.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So is it safe to assume that like your style of cooking or kind of what you're working on evolves over time as you get new inspiration?
Yeah. And I've mostly been cooking like Nordic cuisine and French cuisine. But I'm like trying to expand, and we are like taking techniques and stuff from Asia. I like South American food a lot. So we try to like get inspiration from everywhere, and then we do something fun.
Yeah.
And like the only limitation we have is that we have to try to use the big expensive grill we have. And if I do that, the owners are happy, and yeah. And then we do just what's fun for us and what we enjoy. And the moment we think something is getting boring to repeat, we just scrap it and start over and do something new.
Yeah. How big does your team, like, I mean, I'm sure like anything, the team is very important.
Yeah.
How important is like the team chemistry in the back? Because again, as consumers, as diners, you don't really think about that. You know, like you just think the food magically makes itself, and then this waiter brings it out, and But I had a chance to be in the kitchen with Ronald, and it was like a small, like, kind of organized concert. You know, like, people were working on their own, but you can tell it's orchestrated. You know, there's organization to it, but not everyone is communicating like every little thing they're doing.
No.
It was just, again, I hate to keep using the word art, but it just reminded me of like this almost like a exhibition,
Yeah. No, like the team is the most important thing, I think. No matter how good I am, or the head chef, or like the owner of something, if the team can't execute the ideas, you're doing something wrong, kind of. So for me, it's like the most important thing is the team. And for me, it's also important that I'm not always the best at everything. If I hire a team where nobody is better at me at anything, I'm like putting a roof on the concept, right? But if I take in someone that's better at me at fermentation, for example, since we have talked about that, he can help me involve, and I can help him with certain aspects. And then we are like building bricks on each other's foundation. And then, everything becomes better, kind of. So for me, it's like important to take people that I feel like is fitting in socially with our team. That's like the most important thing, that we have a fun time together. And then it's like, how can they help me improve and the rest of the team improve? And is there anything I can teach them? Because if I take in someone that's better at every aspect of cooking than I am, I'm gonna also put like a roof on their growth, and they're not gonna have the same amount of rewarding time as the rest of the guys are. So it's like to find a balance where we everyone help each other grow, and we enjoy doing it together, and like make a concept together which everyone can stand for. I think it's like the most important thing of cooking and building a team.
Absolutely. Now, as you were kind of, if we can back up for a little bit, can you kind of share how you got into cooking? I mean, did you cook as a child, or did you?
No, I didn't cook at all. And when I said I was going to culinary school, my mom and dad was laughing because they thought I was joking.
It just came out of nowhere.
It kind of came out of nowhere. I've always been fond of eating. Like, I enjoy food so much. And it's like, always food has been like a big part of my life. So when I was, choosing what to do, I was supposed to do sports school and focus on handball, where like the school aspect of it is quite heavy, or like you have to do your homework, you have to show up on time, and kind of all of these things. And I've never been good at sitting still. I've never been good at doing school. Like, I've always been good at school, but I've never been a good student, kind of. So for me, being tired of school, not wanting to go, I needed to find something that's lighter on the school aspect than something else. And then I was thinking, I need to do something that I can use the rest of my life before I go back into doing something smart, so I can wear a suit every day. That was like the goal of life, wear a suit every day and look good. That was like, and then I was like looking at everything I could do, and I was like, I'm not interested enough in cars to be like a mechanic. Electricians sound boring for me. And then I was like, I really want to build houses and be like a handyman, because this I can use for the rest of my life before I go back to study something proper, as they say. Like,
and how old were you at this point when you're
I was like 15, 16 years old. So
you're 15, 16, you're like, what the hell am I going to do in my life?
And then it was raining a lot, as it does here on the west coast of Norway.
You don't say.
And it's like I could hear, like, it was not a storm, but you could hear like the whiplashes of the wind and the rain on the window. And I was like, nah, I'm gonna do something inside. And then it was like, I really enjoy eating food. Why not learn to cook so I can enjoy good food the rest of my life? And then 3 months in, it was like, I was feeling high on life every day because I was enjoying it so much.
Oh man.
And I had like great teachers, which like, yeah, took care of me and showed me that this can be like the best job in the world. And I know my parents were not like too fond of it in the beginning because it's like, it's not well paid. Work hours are like really shit. And it's like a heavy profession. I've never been cooking. Like my mom said, the hardest thing you ever made is an omelette, and you didn't do it well, kind of. And you know, you're cooking, and I'm like, yeah, that's why.
Yeah.
But the moment I said, this is what I'm gonna do, this is what I enjoy, they were like, then we are on board.
That's awesome.
That like the most important thing is you find something you enjoy and something you like.
Yeah.
And the more into cooking I got, the more they understood that this is what you're gonna do, and then they got proud of it, and then they were like telling people that I was doing cooking and stuff like this. And then
and they're like, damn, you're almost fucking good now.
Yeah. So it's nice. Yeah, they have always been supportive. If you look away from the first 3 months where they didn't understand why is he doing this to himself, and then they understood, like,
I think that's natural. I mean, because as parents, you want the least amount of effort, the most benefit for your kids.
Yeah.
And so when you think like just off the surface level, when you think like a chef or a cook, I mean, everyone has to start somewhere.
Yeah.
And you just imagine like flipping burgers or something,
Yeah.
So I can imagine, I can see where your parents are coming from, but it's fantastic that they supported you in this new endeavor. I think family support is really important, especially when you're trying something new. There's a certain element of like fear and uncertainty, to have your family support. I mean, that probably meant a lot to you.
Yeah, for me, family is important to me. It's like always something that's like, if I have a rough time or something, I know I always can go home to them. I know they always got my back and look after me. So for me, like, it's an important thing of life and something like I try to focus on and give back to them because they're giving me a lot. So having their support, and like when my dad was with work at the place I was working, he pointed at me and said, this is my son. It's like some of the better parts of my cooking, even though or like my career, even though at the moment I was 18-year-old, I only did as I was told, I knew nothing, kind of. But it was still like, he's like, my son is cooking our food tonight. And that
he was proud of you.
Yeah, and that for me was like some of the biggest thing of my career, even though it's happened a lot after that. It's like one of the main things that stuck with me, that him being so proud of me.
So you knew you were going in the right direction and you were having fun with it. I get goosebumps like just listening. I mean, I have a long, you can't see, but when I hear stories like yours of people finding what really makes them happy, it's like one of the most beautiful things. Because oftentimes, like we question, I don't know if you have, but we question like, what are we here for? And as trivial, for someone who doesn't know, as cooking may seem, for someone like myself who's like very interested in the intricacies of it and like the art aspect of it, there's a lot that goes into it. You're not just making food for sustenance. There's a lot more, I mean, if I go out to dinner and there's a nice meal, everything matters, the ambiance, the lighting, the service, the food, everything matters, So, I mean, I really find beauty in what you do. So, I mean, I think it's fantastic that you finally at such a young age too, found something that you said, okay, I want to do this perhaps for the rest of my life.
Yeah, no, I knew quite early was something I wanted to do. And I think it was like the structure of it. I knew like, when I came to work at that day, I knew what I was doing, how the night's gonna end in one way. And then it's like the aspect of the guest and how to react to their requests and their, everything they come with. But I knew the smile I get from a good meal and sharing it with people, and like some of my best and most fond memories is around the kitchen table eating as a child. Even though it was no culinary experience eating my mom's food. So it's like, for me, but like remembering sitting there, sharing our day, how it was, everything, was great for me. And then when I started to really get into food and started eating, and the joy it gave me, it's like the only thing I want to give other is this joy that I get from like a perfect evening. If that exists.
Yeah, I mean, it's arguably the space that people spend the most time in the
Yeah.
kitchen. Like you might, again, like you said, share stories.
Yeah.
I mean, just everything happens in the kitchen. And then also, I've done a fair bit of traveling, and I'm sure you have as well. But no matter where you go, it's like food brings people together.
Yeah.
No matter where you go, you could be sitting around a campfire, in a restaurant, or
Yeah.
in the mountains. Food always brings people together.
Yeah.
So I think what you're doing is, like, again, it kind of taps into the origins of what we are, like
Yeah.
eating, but I think it's so fantastic that you're involved in something that, again, brings everyone together and with this one commonality.
Yeah. No, for me, like, I don't know how to explain it, but it's like the joy it gives me is like something I want other people to experience.
Yeah.
And it's like when I can wake up the day like tired in my face after smiling too much the day before because like the food was so good.
Yeah.
And it's like it just gives me joy
Yeah.
and bring back core memories.
Yeah.
Like I can sit there with my eyes closed, feeling like I'm at my grandma's
Yeah.
table eating strawberries, right? Or like smells of the food like bring back certain memories. And it's like for me, it's so magical. It's like I feel everyone that doesn't get the same joy that I do from cooking is like missing out on the
Yeah.
biggest aspect of life because this is what's make life so great for me. It's food.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I always found it, I mean, I don't meet a lot of people, but there are some people that are pretty picky with food.
Yeah.
And I just find it so sad,
Yeah.
Especially, I mean, if you have allergies or, you can't eat
Yeah.
shellfish, I mean, that's understandable for
Yes.
medical reasons.
Yeah.
But if you choose not to,
Yeah.
oh my God, you're missing out on so much.
Yeah. And it comes down to training, actually. So it's like if you're a picky eater and you just choose like to not ever try,
Yeah.
you're never not gonna be a picky eater. But if you like try, so even though you don't like it, you try and you keep on trying, you're gonna end up liking more.
Yeah.
And I see it over and over. People that were picky eaters when they were growing up is now starting to like, enjoy food and like start cooking at home because it's like, so I think like it's a choice you make being a picky eater. I understand it as a child when you had one bad experience and you're not developed enough to understand that this was just a one-time thing, kind of. I can understand that. Yeah, that makes it hard to go back to eat the same fish or whatever. But it also comes down to like training yourself to enjoy food, kind of.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we're living in such a great time in human history.
Yeah.
I mean, arguably one of the best times for,
Yeah.
for human beings. And I think the accessibility of, I mean, because we live in Norway, 1.5, 2-hour flight, you're in Spain.
Yeah.
You can have fresh paella.
Yeah.
You can go to France, Italy, and get, I mean, it's just like, we're so lucky in that way.
Yeah.
Whereas I'm sure 150 years ago, like they're like, what is, like, we never tried Asian food,
No.
And I found it, again, I always feel like I'm knocking on Norwegians in podcast, but I'm not.
Yeah.
I met a lot of people here in Norway that hasn't had the opportunity or maybe unwilling or whatever to try different foods.
Yeah.
And so, when I introduce like Korean foods, that's maybe not odd, but different from what they're used to.
Yeah.
Because, like, I feel like traditionally speaking, Norwegian food is very like meat and potatoes,
Yeah.
kind of thing.
It is.
And a lot of fishes as well. But, in Asian culture, as you know, like there's a lot of flavors,
Yeah.
spices and sweetness and, all kinds. And so when I meet people here, I really encourage them to like try.
Yeah.
If you don't like it, that's fine, but at least you tried.
At least you tried, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's an important thing. And that's like one of the reasons why I don't have a children's menu. It's like if you come to my restaurant eating my food, I think you should come there for the experience and trust the chef, kind of. Because you have chosen to spend your night here.
Yeah.
So if you come to me and like expect me to cook something that's not on the menu, you came to the wrong restaurant in my eyes.
Yeah.
If like the most important thing for your child is to get the hamburger, go somewhere they serve hamburger, kind of.
Yeah.
I am more than willingly to adjust my flavors and stuff for it to fit the child better, like do less salt and all of these things, and like maybe do small changes. But I don't want to cook a completely separate meal just because your child doesn't like or think he doesn't like my food, kind of. So it's like, but I always want people to try. And like, that's the most important thing. I'm figuring out more and more. I thought when I grew up, I ate like everything, I thought. And the more into food I get, the more I understand that like textures and flavors and things like this, it develops on you over time. For example, like oyster, the first time I tasted it, the only thing I was thinking about was the texture of it, which I don't think is too pleasant. And then I learned it, like the next time I tried it, I only focused on like the flavor of it, and I thought it was like so nice. And then it's like eating Asian food, for example. They have a completely different texture than we do in Norway. Like they have adapted to like the Western kind of style.
Yeah.
But if you travel to Asia, it's a lot more chewy food and stuff like this, which we are not used to in Norway.
Yeah.
And that's one of the main reasons I would like to travel to Asia, because I haven't done it yet. I would like get the experience of what they are experiencing down there. And like I have a lot of friends that been to China, for example, and they say like the food tastes great, but we don't manage to eat it because all the textures are so bad. And it's like, but it's just come down to what you're used to. And
I kind of, this may be a bad analogy, but I hope you understand what I'm saying. I kind of equate it to like language. Because when you know a certain language and that's your mother tongue, it just comes natural. There's no effort, like you know, cum laude, or it's just like what you're used to and eating. But when you go abroad, it's like, wow, this is like different. It's not bad, but it's just different. And so I think your palate isn't used to that. And so when you have the different textures, or maybe it's a little bit more chewy or slimy or something, you're just like, oh, that's different. But again, I think if you have an open mind, you think like, oh, it's different, but it's still, I like it for what it is.
And and I think the cuisine of other places is more exciting, and it's maybe because I'm not too used to it. But like the tradition of Norwegian food is quite bland. It's quite boring in many ways, and it's quite a lot of similar things. Like everything is the same, but it's a little bit with what we had to work with. It's a land where it's not the best to be farmer everywhere. So like it's only rough vegetables growing. It's a lot of cold weather, which also makes it harder. And then like the winter you had to preserve. And then it's a lot of salt and stuff like this, because that's the way to. So I think like where we are is like being really replicated in the cuisine that's here from old. But it's like if you know how to harvest this, you can still make great things out of it that's new for people, even though it's based on how it's always been.
So do you find yourself developing a lot of relationships with farmers? So you have like a good go-to source for, let's say, potatoes or vegetables, or
I haven't had the same time here as I did when I was living in Bergen to go out and meet. Like in Bergen, I could, for example, go and pick my own vegetables in a garden in the morning and serve them in the evening, and it was completely different than what we do now. But we try to reach out to farmers, and when farmers comes to us, we always try to meet them and greet them and see what they have to deliver. But it's also like if the quality doesn't reach the level we need and we are looking for, we are always also like giving a feedback like the idea is great, but for us this isn't working because but of course it's like some of them you get really close bond with, and some of them are just colleagues in a way. You call them, I tell them what you need, and I tell them me if they can deliver or not. We are visiting farms and stuff like this, and talking to people whenever I have the time and see them and meet them. So
fantastic. Now I know the term sustainability is often kind of thrown around even in cooking. Has that been a big shift for you, or do you guys focus on sustainability or sustainable ways of cooking or sourcing your materials?
So the cooking aspect of it, of course, we spend a lot of time on this. We preserve a lot. We look at ways how we can use our waste instead of throwing it. I'm working in a big building with 3 concepts. So we are working together to see like if I'm using this part of the cow, can you use this part? And then we maybe take in half a cow or a whole cow, and then we cut it down and use it. So we like not only take the prime cuts and the rest is like left. And also like vegetable peels and stuff, how can we use it and preserve it, and so we are using a lot of time on this, and it's been important for me, and it's something I've been learning more about, which is nice. It's also something the owners want us to focus on because it's time consuming. which makes it expensive. So even though like my food cost or percentage of food compared to what I get in is not that high, it's because we spend a lot of time on doing things like this. We throw less and can serve more of it. But then also the cost of having people working, it's more expensive than buying new produce. So it's like also getting the resources to do it is important. I'm not like only using ecological vegetables or stuff like this, but I try to see where it comes from. I always try to prioritize Norwegian. So I follow the season and then I know kind of what it goes into it. And if I have the opportunity, I always try to visit the farmers to see how they do their greenhouses or like.
Yeah, they call that, I don't know if they use the term here, but farm to table.
Yeah.
I like that term a lot because it's, I don't know, it just sounds nice because it seems like you're getting the ingredients straight from the source. You know, which oftentimes I think nowadays is a big issue, you know, because, you know, we go to the grocery store, you know, like most people, including myself, have never seen a slaughterhouse. You know, and you just go there, the meat's nicely packaged, a nice color, you know, like there's no mess. It's sitting on a nice pillow. And then you just bring it home and you cook it up, you know. You don't ever see how it's processed. You don't ever see, you know, how the animal was, you know, I mean, was it humanely killed? I mean, was it not? And you see some of these horror videos, like these PETA videos. And I know it's like a lot of propaganda and marketing, but I mean, I'm sure a lot of those things do happen.
It do happens, unfortunately. We try to work with local butchers. I personally think, and I remember my first time at the butcher house, that it was really weird. You see a lot of people not smiling too much, even though they say they like their job, but they understand just killing animals for the whole day. It's not like something that should bring joy to people. But it's like the smell of it, like the feeling of it, the sound of it, like all of it. I think it's something everyone should experience in a way. And I think it's like an important aspect of growing up and understanding. So I think it should be a part of mandatory school, going to a slaughterhouse, go to farms and like talk about it. It's like, I think it's 2 years now. One summer, VG, like the newspaper, like the biggest newspaper in Norway, was having like an article about that a guy found a worm or something in his cauliflower and was like, what the fuck are they doing? Like, how can they sell this? And of course the farmers and like the distributors, like they have a lot of ways to try to root this out, but he should be happy that it's like something trying to eat the vegetable, because it means like it's unhealthy, well-grown, like in a healthy environment. So we only see like the bad things of what's like the most natural thing of it all. And it's like the hardest thing about farming is actually keeping the earth healthy. And to do this, you actually need the worms and all of these things. And then society doesn't understand that this isn't an important thing and it's a good sign. They are only looking at it as a bad thing. And then the newspaper is ignorant enough to only write the aspect of the consumer. And then it's like this really short, like, yeah, we are doing our best for this not to happen, but this is actually a good sign or something. It's like the last chapter of the article, and it's like, it's getting a little bit stupid for me. It's like, we should be celebrating that we get well harvested. It means like it's less chemicals and all of these things. So it's a really good sign, but the consumers doesn't understand this because they think it's unpleasant. And I know chefs that don't take washed vegetables into their restaurant because it stays fresher for longer if it comes in its own dirt, kind of. So it's like if it's a root vegetable, they don't want it washed before it comes. That is something he can do. And stuff like this. So the thing that the consumer thinks is disgusting and wrong is actually a sign of everything being right. And the educational system fails to inform about this, and then I think it's something we should do about it. I think the issue, again, you're more of an expert than I am, but I think the issue is nowadays people are so disconnected from their food. I mean, literally, you talk into a speaker of what you want to order, and you drive, and the food comes out. In America, drive-through fast food is so popular. I mean, it's like you can't drive 2 minutes without seeing a fast food restaurant.
you don't know where this stuff comes from. You don't know how they process it. Same thing at the grocery store. You know, everything's nicely packaged.
Yeah.
You don't know. I mean, it's just incredible. I went to this one steak restaurant in Estonia
Yeah.
and Slovenia.
Yeah.
And we went there and we ordered some steak. It was served on this black stone that they actually cooked it in front of you. I mean, so the presentation, the performance was like beautiful. But at the end, they handed out barcodes, like a QR code. I'm like, what is this? And we scanned the QR code, and it has all this information about not only the cow, but the farmer.
Yeah.
It was like, dude, I was like blown away, you know? And again, like, not that I'm that snooty, you know, like I don't, I don't want to be like, that guy, but it was just nice to like, for once say like to go somewhere and dine where people give a shit about this.
Yeah.
You know?
No, and I think it's an important aspect of it. It's like, I think this restaurant is not in Trondheim anymore. They are moved, and I don't know if the concept is still the same.
Yeah.
But it was like a Michelin restaurant called Credo in Trondheim. Unfortunately, never got to go there. But one of their like gimmicks was that all their milk they were using came from this and this and this cow. So they have like a picture of all the cows that was giving them milk and stuff like this. And I think it's so brilliant because you put like a story to it that people are interested in knowing more about because it's just in front of you. Yeah. It's maybe something nobody would have asked for, but if you give signs about it, they're gonna get intrigued, right? So I think this is and I think it's a genius thing. And I think the storytelling and everything aspect of cooking is getting more and more important because it's, as you say, it's more and more disconnected from reality, kind of. And also going to the store and find everything you want year round is not a healthy thing because it means that things are shipped and like you don't get like the seasonal thing. I understand the luxury of it, and it would have been making my job harder if I never could get what I wanted, like kind of. But the seasonal aspect of it, I think it should be more focused on it in a day-to-day life. If you can get your avocado at all times, you're never going to think about the work that is behind the avocado and the seasonality and stuff like this. But also it makes life easier, so I understand why it is like it is.
Yeah, I mean, everyone has busy lives now, and but the food that we, they often say you are what you eat.
Yeah.
And the food that we eat is such an important part of our being and our existence and our health, you know, and I think people often kind of put it aside or maybe take it for granted, but for as a chef, for people listening that are, just your everyday goers, they go to the supermarket, they, probably twice or three times a week, they go to work and, they're busy. They can't go to the farm, and, source their own healthy foods. I mean, do you have a recommendation? I mean, is organic a thing? What is your recommendation for someone who wants to give a little bit more shits about, their food and what they intake? Because I have 2 kids and we try to give them as healthy food as possible, but obviously there's limitations to that.
Yeah.
We're not going to farms or anything. We try to get local eggs at the very least. But do you have any advice for someone that, is on a tight schedule or budget that can?
I think like the most important thing of it is try to stay away from processed food. Right now, I think that's like the biggest thing. Yeah. Because even things that are healthy in theory gets less healthy the more it's processed, kind of. So if you manage to stay away from this, I think you're halfway there.
Can you give some examples of highly processed food that most people eat that they don't perhaps know that is so processed?
Yeah, we can, since we're talking about fast food, for example, you eat like a quick burger at McDonald's. Yeah. And I think like the patty of McDonald's is so processed that it takes you like, I think it's 6 times the amount of time to process it as in your body.
Than regular meat.
Than regular meat.
Holy shit.
So it's like if you buy like a patty that isn't that processed, you like get the nutrition and it goes through your system and it's more healthy in a shorter time. So I think like if you manage to think about these things and look at the how processed it is and what chemicals that are in it, I think you can get away quite easily without doing too much different in your life other than looking at what you're buying.
Yeah. So fast food off the list, guys.
No. From time to time I do it myself, of course. But it's like the amount of it, and it's like the thought about it. It's like, is it really worth it? Like you save a little bit of time, but like what comes with it?
Yeah. It should really be a few times a year type of thing.
Yeah, I do it more than this because it's a little bit like you've been cooking for 14 hours and the thing you want to do then is not to go home and cook.
Dude, I'm
for-
impressed you're so honest about that because you think like a high level chef like you
Yeah.
wouldn't even go near fast food or McDonald's. But
No.
you know, I'm super impressed that you're honest about it. And
Yeah.
I love McDonald's.
Yeah.
You know, like shit. Like if we're at Caudot, you know, like I'm like, oh man, I want a Big Mac. You know.
No, for me it's like McDonald's and Burger King. It's not something I do too much, but the occasional kebab is something I do more often than I want to admit.
Do you have a go-to kebab place in town?
Oh no, I actually don't. I just take the closest one and hope it's not bad, and then but and also I think this is frozen pizza. Since we're talking about
That's big here in Norway, right?
Yeah,
The
processed
grandiosa.
food. Yeah, frozen pizza. It's a quick fix.
Yeah.
And to just get some food. But I eat most of the time I eat at work. So it's like I don't need that much when I'm off work. But it's like cooking for one after cooking for 14 hours. It's not fun for me.
Yeah.
So I do it more than I should. The double morals of talking about it.
Have you noticed the trend? My wife and I keep talking about this. I mean, probably more than we should, but have you noticed a trend, especially with the youth here in Norway, like, you know, younger kind of like preteen, teen, of like kind of like living or maybe eating unhealthy foods? I mean, we're starting to see, I mean, it's a global, it's not just Norwegian, but it's a global thing. I'm from America, and Americans are probably the fattest people in the world, just per capita.
Yeah.
But it is spreading. It's almost like an epidemic where, you know, like in places like in Asia and Europe, you know, you're seeing a lot of obesity in youth. You know, is that, do you think that's a growing problem here in Norway?
I think it's a growing problem, and I don't think it's necessarily the youths that is the problem. I think it's like the system that are failing them. And that's pretty much us as grown-ups deciding what they are eating. Kind of, if we do a lot of fast food and these things, and it sparks joy in people, then it's easier to do these things, and like it being so available at all times, it's really easy to stop by McDonald's for a burger on your way home from school if you have money for it, or do a milkshake and stuff like this. And like sweet stuff and fat stuff, it's really good. So I understand why they do it, but it's like, and also like everything evolving into a more, like the day consists of less activity. It's more television, it's more video games, it's less of being out playing with your friends. It's like I got both things in my youth. We were all both running around in the forest, hitting each other with sticks, and we went home and played video games. So I did both. And I don't feel like the youth get the same exercise just by normal play. They either have to do a decision to, I want to play soccer or football, as it's called in Norway, or handball, or I want to do sports. And I think like it's easier to just sit at home. So if like you're not pushed in a direction, you're gonna take the easy way, because that's how people are. It's like you always do easy and comfortable if you can. And that's how we are programmed to react to things.
Yeah, because I remember growing up, like you said, I mean, they call them like, what, latchkey kids, you know, like, you know, you go out, you play with your friends, you run around, you bike down hills, you know, whatever. And then you just come home before dark for dinner. You know, like, I mean, you were out literally all day after school. But nowadays, I think kids, not only kids, but adults as well, they leave a lot more sedentary lives, you know, where they're sitting in the office and then they get in their car and drive to home, and then they get from home, they get home and they sit on the couch, you know, and then they have dinner. So it's like they're not moving at all.
No.
You know, and oftentimes they're, you know, like indoors or in a car. They don't really get fresh air. And especially being here in Norway where the nature is so beautiful, it's such a shame. But I think a lot of people day after day kind of lead that routine life where they don't get outside or go hiking at the very least. I think that's a growing problem.
Yeah, but it's like we're not forced into it, but we are led into it by society, and all with this social media and all of these things that just takes your time. And for me as well, it's like I spend more time on social media than I would like to do. So I'm like deleting it from my phone, so it's harder to access it. But it's like, it's an easy way of getting stimuli. And when you're stimulated, times fly by, you know. So it's like to get out and do something. In Norway, we have this thing, the mile to get through the door is like the hardest. And I think that goes to everything in life. It's often used to like work out and stuff. Like if you get through the door, it's easy to go to the gym or take a run or whatever. But it's like get out of your chair and do the mile to the door. That's the hard thing. And for me, it's like this with everything. If I'm gonna clean my house, it's no problem cleaning my house when I've started. But it's like I really don't want to. And then it's like and then you started, you just get it done.
I say starting's half the battle.
Yeah. I think it's even more than half. And it's like the best thing I do, and like the most fun I have in my life, and like the best thing I do is going to work. It's like I would never have done this much of it if I didn't love it as much as I do. And then it's like, but still waking up in the morning, go to the shower and get out the door. It's like the moment I lock my door, I started smiling because I'm heading to doing that thing I enjoy the most. And before I open the door, I'm like, man, it would have been nice with another hour before, right? So I think like just getting through the door, it's like the most important thing. And I think it comes to every aspect of life. It's like just to start cooking. Should I just order Fodura and be happy about it? Or should I spend these 30 minutes cooking, right? Because it doesn't have to take that much time if you plan it ahead, kind of. And if you focus on doing dishes that are easy to make, it can still be good.
I think it's a decision. You know, I mean, all of us, no matter if you're a billionaire or a student, all of us have 24 hours in a day. You know, and I think I'm going to just go out and say it, but I think it's excuses. You know, you prioritize what's important in your life. You know, again, we have 24 hours. Everyone does the same amount of time. So what you do in that time, I think, is your decision. You know, so if you choose not to exercise or eat healthy, that is a choice you make. And then you can't be surprised if you get sick. Or you feel like shit, or you can't think, your head's foggy. You know, it's just like, come on. You know, I think we often point fingers, say, oh, it's the fast food industry, or it's, the social media companies. No one's fucking forcing you to do it. You know, like you said, you took control and said, the social media thing's getting a little bit out of control. I'm going to delete some apps. That's a choice you make. You know, but I think oftentimes, in this woke fucking culture we live in, people tend to point fingers. It's like, no, I mean, point a finger at yourself, look in the mirror, and try to really assess like where the problem is. And it's oftentimes us.
I think most of the time, if you have a problem, it's down to what you make out of it, kind of. Of course, some things in life happen and it's unfair. But then it's a little bit on how you choose to react to it. And if you choose to lay down and think the world is unfair, it's gonna be unfair and you're never gonna get up, kind of. So you have to take a decision. This is what I want to do with my life and where I want to go going forward. And then it's like, we all react differently, but we all have the decision to try to navigate how you want to use it, or like play the cards to your hand.
I think you said it very well. But I do think the system is working against us. And it's harder now because the social medias. I mean, these people, probably thousands of employees at Facebook or Instagram, their job is to get you more addicted. You know, food industries. I mean, McDonald's, they're constantly thinking of ways to make it more addicting through the marketing or whether it's food. So it's like a really hard battle for people, and if you don't have the discipline or the will, it's easy to succumb, and literally these things can kill you. Over time. So.
And they are clever about it as well. For example, I deleted Instagram from my phone, and then I was tagged in some things because I'm checking it still on my computer to like stay updated. And then it's like, I'm tagged in something and I want to share it.
They want to get you back.
But you are not allowed to share from your computer. You need to download the app to share it. So you need to have it easily available to share things. So they have made like a mechanism that is a big part of it, but you can't use it unless you always have your phone with inside. And things like this is a little bit annoying when you're trying to do something about it, but they are like kind of forcing you back into it.
Yeah.
But again, it's a decision. I downloaded the app, I shared what I was tagged in, then I deleted the app again. So it's like,
wow, you have a lot of discipline. Yeah.
so it's like something comes with it, but yeah.
See, I would have been like, oh, okay, I'm gonna download it to see what the notification is, and then the next thing you know, I'm scrolling my feed. Yeah.
So
Wow. Yeah. No, I think it's a very important topic. I'm glad we're talking about it because, again, not just in food, but in social media, and it is becoming a big part of our lives. For most people. I mean, there are still people who don't have smartphones and who aren't, in social media, which is great. But
like I would love to be them. Yeah.
Do you think you could do with what you do? I mean, because you do a lot. Does a part of what you do, like for a living, involve some advertising and getting your name out there and that kind of thing? Because when I can't turn on Netflix without seeing either real estate agents or chefs now. It's like everyone's got a culinary show now.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys are like celebrities now.
Yeah. If you like, I think it's like a thing everyone wants to be now. I personally love just being in the kitchen.
Yeah.
So for me, going out of harm's way to get my name out there is not as important for me.
Yeah.
So it's like every year I make a decision. I'm gonna be better at posting on social media this year and gonna take more pictures. I don't do it. So, but it's getting a bigger part of it, and you can see it. It's more and more chefs that do their own Instagram and focus on it. It's not only the job social media anymore. It's starting to become that every chef has their own where they're posting and they're working on it and trying to stay relevant and trying to find the next new thing that's going to be shared. For me, I like to pay attention to others do it, but it's not for me. But for me, it's more like always being available when I'm needed, kind of. If I'm getting an email, I need it to be easy accessible, so I can answer it and see or respond to it if it's needed. So it's like you always have these notifications coming in with you're not getting your complete order or whatever. So going back to a dumb phone, as I call it, it makes all of these aspects harder of my job. But social media in itself, it's getting more and more important, but it's not something I'm focusing on. Even though I would like to do it, it's just, I think social media is scary. I haven't understood it completely because I haven't spent too much time on it. So every time I'm trying to post something, I'm starting overthinking, and I'm like, nobody's gonna like this, and it's like, I'm getting insecure about something I'm really secure about. If you meet me in person, so I'm getting shy about it. So if someone comes into my kitchen and start talking with me while I'm cooking, it's the most natural thing, and I show them, and I'm proud, and I'm like, I can do this. And the moment I'm filming something or taking a picture for social media, I'm getting second thoughts about myself. And I think it's really weird because normally I'm so confident in what I do that all of a sudden I think it gets scary and it gets so real in a way when it goes online.
Do you think it's the potential audience size that is making that difference? Because you feel comfortable, if someone walked into your kitchen, like you said, just explain the food or anything, but do you think the audience size of maybe posting it and thousands of people seeing it or something, do you think that has a part to do with maybe the discomfort you're feeling a little bit?
No, I think it's because it's so much easier to judge someone when you don't see them. I think being a keyboard warrior, sitting there talking all smack and shit, it's so easy.
Trolls.
Because you take away the personality of it. They can't see my response unless I'm making a big post, and then it's funny because they can see it kind of. And I think that's the scary part about it. It's you're putting yourself in a vulnerable position that makes it weird for me. Because if you come to me and you say you're doing it wrong, then I can say, okay, show me, please. I'm always open to learn something new, and it's if you can do better, I'm so willing to learn. It's
but
so nice.
I think that's a trend that's so sad that people are just behind their phones, and they're probably sad about their own lives. They like to talk shit about other people. I think the move, again, I'm not an expert in this. I think the move for you is hiring someone to do the social media for you. So take the videos and editing and photos, and then just don't read the posts.
Yeah.
Don't read the comments. Just let the social media person do their social media thing,
Yeah.
and then you just focus on your cooking. I think that's the move.
Yeah.
Because then when you start posting, you're like, oh, everyone does this. How many likes do I get? How many views? You read the comment, and then that's like a slippery slope.
Yeah. No. That like I have no problems if someone else is filming me, posting their own there. Like, you do you. That's fine. But the moment I just decide to post something, it gets scary in a way. And I think it's really weird because I'm confident in most aspects of my life, and I know who I am, or I like to believe I know who I am. I spend a lot of time reflecting over myself, like, why did I react like this? What can I do next time to be better at handling this situation? And I'm spending a lot of time inside my own head, trying to improve myself as a person and myself as a chef and myself as a leader, because that's what I am at work. So for me, it's like I'm spending so much time working on the decision making I'm making, and why did I react like this? What can I do to prevent me getting angry at the same thing next time? Because and all of these things. But I think like the scary thing about it is that you don't see the person. When I do interactions, I don't listen too much on what's been said. I don't put too much in that one way, but I look at the body language and how they react and like the tone of their voice. And not having this is also something I don't like. So for me to text, I fucking hate it.
Yeah, it's weird. I mean, it's like our go-to method now for communicating, unfortunately. But they say like 78% of communication is nonverbal.
Yeah.
So like most people don't do this. Unless like you're meeting your friends for lunch or something. But people are like texting or emailing, and a lot of things can get misinterpreted. And so I mean, I think this is a dying art form, unfortunately.
Unfortunately, but it's a big part of life, knowing how to interact with people. And texting and social media and stuff, I have never like understood it completely. Emojis, I always joke about that being the worst thing that happens to humankind. Because if I talk with someone that's say my students that are 20 years old, and they use an emoji, and then I talk with my friends that are 30, 40 years old that I've been working with, and they use the same emoji, but it has completely different meaning.
Different meaning.
And then it's confusing me, and I don't understand it. So I hate emojis, I hate texting, all of this aspect of it. And then I also think like this social media part gets harder, because the interaction of it, I don't feel like I'm understanding it completely. And then it's easier. Again, it's an easy decision. I'm doing, like we said earlier, with like making ourselves comfortable. And for me, it's comfortable and easy not doing it. And then I just choose to focus on other aspects of life.
I think you're doing it the right way. I think we spend more time on social media than we would like. It consumes a lot of time because you're scrolling, and next thing you know, 25 minutes later, you know. I have a friend, I won't say his name, but he knows who he is, based in California. And, we were traveling, and dude, that guy would spend 45 minutes to an hour in the bathroom. I'm like, dude, get the fuck off the toilet, because he's scrolling, so I think, I do it sometimes myself, but the first thing people think about, oh, I got to take a dump. Where's my phone? You should just do your business and, just look at your phone later. So, but I don't know. It's a weird world we live in. I wanted to kind of go back on the whole, celebrity kind of mainstream thing about, culinary chefs. You got guys like Gordon Ramsay now that's like freaking megastar. And, again, Netflix has all these cooking shows. I've been watching. I've been kind of hooked on a lot of these Korean cooking shows. Like competitions and stuff. But is competing a part of your life or your aspirations as far as like culinary competitions?
For me, a long time, it was like the main goal. I'm a really competitive person. I was banned from board games, I think almost 6 years in my family because
I was so competitive.
I was so competitive. I ruined one New Year's Eve, and my mom just took the rights to play games. So it's like, so in the beginning, it was like my main aspect of it. I was gonna win the Bocuse d'Or, which is like the highest level of cooking and like the toughest competition in cooking, and that was like my main goal. It was the only thing I was thinking about. How can I get there? And I did a lot of decisions that made me go in that direction. So competing was like a big part of what I wanted to do. And then everything changed when my dad got sick, kind of. So I was on route to be like the assistant chef. So like I wasn't like the main person, but I was gonna be in the kitchen with the chef of Singapore, Matthew. So that has represented Singapore twice in this competition now. So back in 2020, I think it was, I was supposed to be like his assistant chef on this. And then my dad got sick, and like I had to rethink my whole life and what were the aspect of it, because I was so into work. It was like the only thing I did. If I had a day off, I went knocking on doors. Can I work in your kitchen? I can do the dishes. I can peel vegetables. Just let me see what you guys are doing so I can learn something and like build a network. I planned all of my holidays working Glamat, like this food festival in Stavanger. Like that was my summer holiday travel to work for another chef. And like my whole life, and like the only thing I was thinking about was work, food. And like I didn't prioritize anything else. My mom had to like text me, "Are you alive?" Just to like double check on me. And then when my dad got sick, I traveled home. I met a friend, and he looked me like in the eyes, and he said, "Olve, you have to take like the biggest decision of your life now. Either focus on your family that you say are important to you, or you're gonna keep on just diving into what you're doing." And that like is one of the toughest things I've ever heard in my life, and it was just a friendly advice. Like, think about the decision you make now. Yeah. And I'm not sure if I would have taken the right decision that early. I think I would have come to senses later on. But that conversation was like the eye opener for me, that there is so much more to this world than just show up for 14 hours of work every day. So then I took a decision. I said I couldn't go through with it, so we had to find someone else. And he did great. And that's the reason why I got to represent Singapore twice. And then again, I tried 2 years later to like, I got nominated to this competition, or I applied to be nominated to the competition called Young Chef of the Year Award. So it was for me and 4 others. And then my dad was sick, still sick with cancer. And we knew like it was gonna be the death of him, but we didn't know when. And when things got close, all of a sudden, like everything went downhill. And then I had to take a decision again, like what's the most important thing for me now? So I stopped all my training and everything, and I went home, and I think I don't remember how long I did it, but I like shared a single bed with my mom at the hospital. We were like sleeping in on turns and stuff like this, and I was 24/7 in this hospital with my dad, and it's like the best but the worst time of my life, because I got to spend time with like one of the pillars of my life, and one of the people that has been part of making me who I am on his deathbed. And it was great, but at the same time so sad. And when he died, I think it was like 55 minutes later, maybe an hour later, I started sending emails like, "I need my produce. I'm coming back to the test kitchen. I'm gonna do this thing."
An hour after.
Yeah. I was like, we were.
Was
like,
that your way of maybe coping?
I think it was like a way of coping, and I felt like I was behind everyone else that was gonna compete, and I'm like really competitive, as I said. And I'm like, and if I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna fucking do it right. That was like my thought. And then I was standing in this test kitchen 4 days in a row, 5 days in a row. I brought with me the guy that was gonna be my assistant and my commis, as it's called, and I'm crying in a corner because I don't manage to do the like most easiest thing ever, and I've done it like a million times. And I'm like, "Yeah, we're just wrapping up today. I'm fucking done." And he's like, "Okay, we've been here for an hour. Like we're planning."
Was he aware of what happened?
Yeah, he was aware. And he was like, and he's like, "Okay, we planned to do 8 to 10 hours today. We've been there 1.5 hours, I think." And he's like, "Sure, we're packing down." And that night I started calling around and like to everyone that was like a part of my team, and saying like, "I can't go through with it. It's like, for me, it's no reason to compete if I don't believe I'm going to win. Spend time and money on something that you don't believe in. in a time where you're already grieving and everything is wrong, kind of. It didn't feel right. And then I took a decision to spend the time, because I took unpaid off work to do this competition. And then I decided to use that unpaid time off to rather see friends and family and spend time healing. And it's like one of the best decisions that I ever made. And after that, it's been every time someone release like a new a competition or like a new it's like I can feel it like in my whole body, like I really want to do this. And every time I decide not to send something in, I'm so relieved, because I think it's like the easy way out, because I tried it twice and I was so determined on doing this proper and well and be the best. And both times I kind of fell through because of how I chose to react on everything happening around me. And for me, it was 100% the right decision. I'm not sure if I would have been a chef today if I went through with it, because I think it would mentally put me quite off. But for me, it was like, the right decision. And now for me, the new goal of life is to make a restaurant where people like to stay. In our industry, it's quite common to change restaurant often. For example, the longest I've worked anywhere is 1.5 years, I think, which is not long if you look at it at other professions, but it's quite common in ours. And I think like a business that can keep evolving and keeping their staff, and they still feel like they're getting something from staying at you, and keep evolving their cooking, and they don't feel like they're on the same place all the time. I think then you're doing a good business and a good place to be, and the food is going to be great because you get a team that understands you, your cooking, the restaurant, the vibe of it, and you get like this team spirit of evolving together, which is a bond that I don't think you can find in anything else than like working on something together and do it well. And I think that's why team sports is such a good thing, because you get a bond that you wouldn't get in any other situation. And cooking is a team sport in every way and aspect of it. So so for me, competition was like the main thing in my life, was the only thing I like. Everything that came after I didn't think about, because then my life would be sorted, because I would have proven I'm a good chef. I would get the jobs I wanted. I would know how to cook, because I spent so much time getting there. But now I'm more willing to be a part of someone's team, helping them thrive and be good and be the best, than compete myself, because I think I kind of will get in this bad loop over and over. I feel like not every time, the third time is the charm. But maybe if I try, I'm proving myself wrong. But
I think, man, that's tough. And I'm so sorry to hear about your dad. I went through a similar scare with my dad maybe about 12 years ago. He had gastric and esophageal cancer, and it was like pretty bad. But luckily the treatment worked, and he's been good since. But still smoking. I cannot believe it. And drinking, but old dog, you can't teach new tricks. I got off topic there, but I think sometimes life happens, and it kind of, people often try to fight it, and say like, no, I'm in control here. But I think sometimes it's better just to let life happen. And I think as it relates to your competitions and stuff, I think there is still, again, we just met, but I think I'm just giving you my, I think there is still that drive in you to do those, but I think the timing, I think it has to be the right time. And then when the stars all kind of align, I think you're going to make a name for yourself huge. But if you try to force a square into a circle and it doesn't feel right, I think oftentimes we do more damage, than any benefit. But I don't know. That's the 40-year-old me talking. As a 22-year, because I did bodybuilding. I'm just like, if I don't fucking win this, like I remember like getting second place and like I was throwing my trophy. Just like fucking stupid immature shit. I mean, stuff you look back and you're like, that's so embarrassing. I wasn't representing the sport well. I wasn't representing myself well or my team. It was just bad. But you learn and you live and you learn. But you learn a lot from those experiences of not winning or doing something, and it was so scary, and you made it out alive and nothing really happened. But I think for as competitive as you are, I think you really it would excel in that. I've trained my whole life, like either powerlifting or bodybuilding, but I've never competed, when I first started. And when I had a competition date and I was like, okay, on March 8th, I'm stepping on stage.
Yeah.
The training leading up to it was insane.
Yeah.
Like, cause your mind changes, versus like, again, I'm making assumptions here. Correct me if I'm wrong, but instead of just cooking to provide meals or as your job or training just to train, you now have like a goal,
Yeah.
and for me, I don't know if that's for you, but it changed everything.
It changes
I mean,
everything.
my body physiologically changed in a different way because I had this goal in mind.
Yeah.
And I feel like, I mean, would that be similar, you think, in competitions, if you're training for a competition coming up and it's kind of like a big deal?
I think it will be all consuming. I think like everything else
Yeah.
in life would mean a little bit less
Yeah.
in a positive way, because you want it so bad, so it becomes like your main focus.
Yeah.
And I think like there is no reason for it to be scary in a way, even though I think it is, because no matter how you look at it, you learn more from failing
Yeah.
than doing something perfectly the first time. So I think it would be a good like thing to do, but I'm also feeling kind of done with it because I've tried now and both times something bad happened and I didn't want to go through with it. But it's like I had a nice conversation the other day about like the foundations you build in life. The foundations you have today, it's not the same foundation you're gonna have tomorrow. So it's like all the foundation, like the dream house, it's not gonna be the same today as in 10 years.
Yeah.
And the foundation you're gonna build the dream house on is gonna change. And it's gonna also change after you build it by renovating it or like damage done through time. So I think like doing things like this is really healthy. I think it's a really good thing. I just think it needs to be controlled in a way, because for me then I don't do anything else. And that's both good and bad.
Yeah. No, that's a really good analogy. I mean, our foundation changes, our wants and our desires and our goals change.
Yeah.
So I think that's a really important point. I think it's okay to allow that to happen. I mean, that's a part of life. I think people who, again, I'm not like blaming people who stay at the same job for 30 years or live in the same house for 30 years. I think it's a generational thing. Like we're a lot more transient, like, oh, I don't want to work there, then I'll just go over here. I'll take a year off. It's like we have that luxury, but and there is something to say, and there is something romantic about being somewhere for 30 years, But I think with the world we live in now, because you don't have to, I think there's a tendency to like kind of bounce around a little bit. But I mean, there's no right way. It's like, if you stay at a restaurant and you're the head chef there for 20 years, that's great. If you move around, different places trying to get different inspirations, that's also great too. So what's next for you? Like, I mean, you really obviously love what you're doing. Do you have any aspirations of branching out or maybe kind of incorporating new inspirations in your chef? So what's next for Olve?
Next for me is just focusing on what I'm doing right now and do that really, really well. Right now we are one of the busiest restaurants in town. And I think a part of it is because we're new. Part of it is because of the location we have. We have like the best view in town. You can see all of Stavanger. And more. It's like, so we are getting a lot for free in a way because of these things. But also we see people coming back, which means that we are doing something right. And then it's just to evolve and develop this concept to be what I dreamt it to be when we set out to do this, because right now we are not even halfway there of what I'm talking of what I wanted to do with the place. So right now my goal is just to focus on this and do this really well. And then I think if I'm ever moving on from Seid and what I'm doing right now, I think it would be trying to open something of my own.
Oh,
I think
you heard it here, guys.
I think like that's my next step, and I think I will like, I think that would be my next thing. But that's also a huge decision to make. So right now it's just focusing on doing the job I do now, but just being better at it. And grow with the company and the restaurant and everything, because I'm in a really good place. it's the first time I've been a year at one place, and I've never thought once about what's next.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
That's a good indicator.
yeah, every time I'm starting to push like the 8 months, I'm starting like, what's the next thing I'm doing? Like now I'm getting comfortable here. I need more new challenges and new people and new inputs in life. And this is the first time where I'm not thinking about what's next.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Just what am I doing next for Seid. And I think that's a really good sign that I'm
Just out of curiosity, how many restaurants are also owned by the chef? Or is it kind of 50-50 where they're separate owners and chefs?
I don't know the percentage of it. It's getting, I'm knowing more and more people owning their own places.
Okay.
And there is a lot of people owning half the restaurant to 40% and stuff like this.
Like partnering in.
Yeah, partnering in with, so I don't know exactly, but I see more and more young people opening things. And then, it's exciting times, but it's also it's more closing than ever, like restaurants going bankruptcy and stuff like this. And a lot of it is COVID. I think people got a lot of debt that they can't get out of, which makes them close. So it's like, it's a high turnover of restaurants these days, it feels like. So I think it's harder than ever to start something. But if you manage to find your niche and your people, I think it's gonna work out fine. You just have to make a concept that's good and easy to understand.
Yeah, because I mean, you think about business. I mean, restaurant is like the one that always comes up when it's like the toughest business. You know, they say like 1% of businesses succeed or something, and no, not 1%, but like a large percent of businesses fail. And oftentimes in that conversation, restaurants are always at the top. You know, so it's like a cutthroat business. Just because I think, I mean, what are your thoughts? I mean, for one, I think there's a lot of restaurants. Obviously when you go out to eat, there's a lot of plentiful of choices, whether it's, low or mid or high end. But also too, like nowadays with the advent of the internet, people are leaving reviews and, it's like, it's very easy to fall behind if you're not on top of your game. Like someone leaves you a shit review and now people aren't coming. I mean, is that a big part of the game now that you're considering, like the online presence and reviews and stuff like that from guests?
I don't think too much about it. I know we work a lot about it and we look into all the reviews we get. Most of it's nothing I like. If I get a review that says great food, I can't do anything with it. Like if it says great food, but the fish was a little bit salty, I get something from it, right? If you come and say terrible food, terrible service, okay, what's terrible about it? Please explain. So I think for me as a person, it doesn't give me enough information most of the time. Some are really great at this, and you get like this essay of our review, and those I fucking love because then normally it's like you can get something from it, and then it's a little bit like if you're confident in what you do, and then you have to a little bit leave it behind, because if I come to your house, and I don't understand why you decorated it as you did. And think like, this had so much potential, but I don't understand your ways of decorating and how you feel at home. I can't like put myself in that position. You can't take my criticism seriously because this is what makes you comfortable and what you're doing good, kind of. So when you come to my home, which is my restaurant, and I give something I'm confident in, and I don't feel like you understand it, you're never gonna enjoy it the way I wanted it to be, right? So it's a lot about people understanding the concept as well. And that's something we had a huge problem with in the beginning because we advertised ourselves as a grill restaurant. And when people hear grill, they're thinking, meat. And then they come and I have only one meat option for main course, kind of. And I'm forcing you to have this if you want meat. And then I have fish and vegetables and whatever. And they're like, but this is not a grill restaurant. It's a restaurant. And I'm like, but we have said in all our promotions and stuff that it's not going to only be focusing on meat, but still that's what everyone thinks when they hear grill. So in the beginning, it was a lot of mixed reviews where they didn't understand the concept. It's like, why couldn't I choose my sauce like I do at the steakhouse? It's not a steakhouse. That's why you can't choose your sauce. I have made a dish that I'm happy with. Take the dish and enjoy it. It's like, I know what I'm doing. Trust the process and it's going to all be nice. So it's like, for me, half of the review thing is I understand that it's important to get them good, but me as a person, it doesn't give me anything.
Yeah. No, I think I really respect that because, oftentimes now we're just so overwhelmed with options.
Yeah.
And so I think that gives like this false sense of like authority that people have, like, oh, custom is always right,
Yeah.
But I really respect the fact that you're, as a head chef, you're putting your foot down in a way. I mean, you're respecting your guests, obviously, in the reviews, but you're putting your foot down and saying, no, this is our concept.
Yeah.
Like, this is what we do, and trust the process and have a great experience, and allow me to give you the great experience.
Yeah.
Because if you came in, or our guest came in, and they said, oh, this concept's off, like I was expecting a steak restaurant, I can't choose my sauces, I'm going to leave a shit review.
Yeah.
And then if you like respond to that and adapt, it's not your restaurant anymore.
No.
It's the customers. And we all know you can't make everyone happy.
Yeah.
So I really respect the fact that you're putting your foot down in a way like that, and maintaining that, and the integrity of like what you want to make of it.
Yeah.
No,
for me, it's like, if you don't respect yourself and your concept, it's never gonna be a good concept.
Yeah.
And the moment I adapt to every request I get, it's not a concept anymore.
Yeah.
You're just doing everything you can to be liked. And
you're just taking orders.
Yeah. And the sad thing about life, not everyone's gonna like you. And I think that's applied to your business idea as well.
Yeah.
If you don't believe in it, nobody's gonna believe in it. So the moment I put my foot down, that's the moment I'm believing in a concept, I'm believing in myself, and I'm setting boundaries that are healthy for me and the business to grow.
Yeah.
So when my owner says to me, like, these people really wanted this, and I say no, and he's like, why not? You can make it. And I'm like, yeah, but I can.
Yeah.
But then what is the concept of me making a menu, making a concept, if I'm not going to follow through with it?
Yeah.
And this is something I think is important. I'm never going to be the chef Olve if I let everyone else decide what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So trust the process, trust me, and it's going to be great. This is what I've been training to do. So if I don't believe in it, why should you?
Yeah. Well, fuck, on that note, fuck yeah. I love, dude, I love your energy. I know we just met. I love your energy and your confidence. I think, again, I'm speaking in generalities here, but I think men nowadays have kind of lost that masculinity, like, I don't know, it's just everyone's changing. I'm probably going to fuck this up, but they say, what do they say? The hard times makes soft men makes good times makes hard times.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
like this,
yeah, something like that. And I think we're in this phase where there's a lot of soft men, and so I appreciate and really respect you, honestly.
Yeah.
I know, you're not, the whole idea of like, being a chef, it's not like you're not a construction worker, there's like, but there's so many beautiful, creative things about it, and I think you, from talking to you, like, you really kind of found that balance, between like, okay, I'm the head chef here, I know what the fuck I'm doing, but at the same time, like, working with the team and creating your vision. So so I really appreciate the hell out of you being here, and I'm a secret foodie, and I just my wife and I love going to like new places, and it sounds stupid as shit because people say, oh, I love traveling, and who's not a foodie, right?
Yeah.
And everyone loves food, but I really like when I go to a restaurant with my wife, both her and I really like critique the experience.
Yeah.
Like, oh, not just the food, because we're not like experts, we're not like fake food, experts. But like, okay, we assess like the lighting, we assess like the service, we assess, we assess a lot of these things, and it's just fun, it's a whole experience, and it's not just eating this,
No.
So I really was excited to meet you, and I hope I get a chance to come to your restaurant. It's hard to get away with two kids, but when we do, I guarantee your restaurants will be the one that we go to. So I really appreciate your time. Continue what you're doing, and if you ever want to come back, or if you have any competitions coming up, or you want to do something, you're opening your new restaurant, you're more than welcome to come back here and share your story.
I would love that.
Yeah. So, all right, guys. Well, thank you so much. If you want to taste the magic that is Olve's culinary cuisines, you can visit him at is it Seid?
Seid.
And then Seid is also connected to, is it Ilo?
Yeah. So we have like the building K8 is we have 3 concepts in it, the same company. So I'm the head chef of Seid, and then I'm developer of food, and I like the concept of Ilo. So I'm in charge of the menus and stuff down there to like develop it and form it. And And then we have like a personal restaurant, as we call it. So it's for the personnel of the building. So it's like a lot of companies. It's
okay. Yeah.
and there, and they eat there. Like I think it's 240 people eating lunch there every day in this canteen, our personal restaurant, as we call it, where we do a 3-course menu. So it's like,
oh man, lucky for that.
yeah.
I gotta find a job in that building.
Yeah, I think you should. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but awesome, guys. Thank you so much for listening. If you want to find Olve, go visit his restaurant, ask him by name, and yeah, I'm certainly going to visit there pretty soon. So I appreciate you being here, and hopefully you can come back.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. All right, guys.